Faithfully conveying value, interpreting global literature. Hello, this is Sally's Book Club. Today, we're exploring the book Understanding Architecture. The author Feng Zikai was a master of Chinese comics, though many may not know he was also an outstanding art educator. Feng and other intellectuals during the Republic era founded China's first art normal school, Shanghai Normal College, dedicating his life to art education. As early as the 1920s, he published works like Introduction to Art, Music Primer, and Tour of Western Masterpieces. These were popular art education publications. The book we're discussing today, Understanding Architecture, is one of these foundational works. Originally titled A Pictorial History of Western Architecture, it explores key architectural themes in Western history, spanning from ancient Egypt to modern times. It was among the earliest comprehensive introductions of Western architecture to Chinese readers. As the book was initially intended for educators and parents, it avoids dry technical jargon to address common questions like, why did ancient Egyptians invest enormous resources to build massive pyramids? Why do Greek temple columns have those distinctive fluted grooves? Why are modern buildings becoming taller, yet less human-friendly? Before exploring these questions, let's understand Feng's core thesis. Architecture is congealed time, meaning architecture materializes the zeitgeist of its era. Feng argues that throughout history, architecture has been co-opted by social policies and political agendas for propaganda. This perspective might challenge conventional understanding. We typically consider text as the primary propaganda medium. How can something as abstract as architecture serve propaganda? Actually, architecture possesses three unique propaganda advantages. First is monumental scale. Other arts like literature or painting aren't as omnipresent, but colossal structures demand constant public engagement. Consider imperial palaces requiring imposing architecture. China's historical nine-layered city gates exemplify this principle. Now, architecture's second characteristic is its intimate human connection. Other arts, like painting or music, only indirectly influence life through appreciation. But architecture directly serves social purposes through specific building types. Take temples. They're both congregational spaces and functional venues. Architecture's final trait is approachability. You might wonder, how can cold structures feel welcoming? Let's compare with other art forms for clarity. Paintings and sculptures typically depict figures, a person in painting, a dog in sculpture. Appreciating art combines intellectual analysis and emotional response to meaningful colors and forms. Your first reaction, oh, that's a person or that's a dog. But architecture's pure forms or colors require less intellectual interpretation. This purity enables architecture's visceral emotional appeal, like using height to imply imperial power or yellow for religious solemnity. Emotional persuasion beats logic. These three propagandistic qualities make architecture uniquely powerful. Therefore, Feng Zikai saw architecture as crystallized zeitgeist, revealing builders' ideologies through style. He identifies five major shifts in Western architectural themes, from ancient Egypt to modernity. Egypt's greatest structures were tombs. Greece had temples. Medieval Europe, monasteries. Modern era palaces. Now we build shopping malls. Ponder this evolution's significance. From tomb building enthusiasm to mall construction fervor, what does this societal shift reveal? What zeitgeist does each architectural era embody? Let's examine them sequentially, starting with Egypt's tombs. Things prime example? The pyramids we all know. Surprisingly, paradoxically, humanity's first great architecture wasn't for the living, but the dead. Why were Egyptians so obsessed with tomb construction? Feng attributes this to their unique philosophy of life. Simply put, they believed in resurrection. But why? Their geographical environment holds the answer. As one of the oldest civilizations, Egypt enjoyed exceptional natural blessings. The fertile Nile River basin, annual floods enrich the soil, ensuring abundant harvests with minimal effort. Yet amidst this plenty, Egyptians felt profound unease. Their lush oasis was encircled by endless desert, a realm of death. This sharp life-death contrast inspired deep cosmic awe. Observing nature cycles, beetles dying, then emerging anew, Nile vegetation's annual rebirth, all suggested eternal life cycles applied to humans too. Modern minds might find this naive, but Egyptians truly believed. They perfected mummification to preserve bodies for souls' return. They invested lifetime resources building eternal homes for the dead. This explains their tomb-building fervor. Pharaohs, as divine rulers, required the grandest tombs of all. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands 100 human heights tall. Its base circumference takes 30 minutes to walk around. Construction used 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing 2.5 tons. 100,000 workers labored for 20 years. The construction techniques remain one of history's great mysteries. Why did pyramids adopt this massive triangular form? Some suggest the shape ensures structural stability against natural disasters, crucial for eternal resting places. Khufu's pyramid remains remarkably intact after 5,000 years, possibly due to this geometric design. The precision cut stones fit so tightly you can't slip a blade between them. Ultimately, pyramids served as luxurious afterlife residences. Chambers replicated royal palaces with air vents, ensuring pharaohs comfort in eternity. The mummy was the pyramid's sacred core, preserved with spices to maintain lifelike appearances. Death was but a transition. Portraits in burial chambers guided souls back to their bodies. As discussed, architecture materializes zeitgeist. Pyramids embodied Egyptian views on death and resurrection, and pharaonic divine authority. Now let's explore the second architectural theme, Greek temples. The Parthenon stands just 1/7 the height of Khufu's pyramid. Greeks prioritized beauty over scale. Aesthetic pursuit was their cultural essence. The Olympics originated as celebrations of physical perfection, not just Zeus worship. Champions became living sculptures, hence Greece's nude statue tradition. Nudity in art flourished as they celebrated human form through dance and sculpture. As Shakespeare noted, dance is the laughter of limbs, their divine worship through beauty. Greece's architectural legacy perfected temple design. Critics call the Parthenon humanity's cultural pinnacle. Greek temples employed entablature architecture, horizontal stone beams under roofs. Below are numerous pillars forming colonnades, the defining element of entablature architecture. Why were temple columns so crucial? Greek temples had small interiors. Worshippers gathered outside, making exterior aesthetics paramount. Column styles defined architectural orders: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. Remember 3 key distinctions. Doric, sturdy columns with plain capitals, simple and solemn. Ionic, slender shafts with scroll-shaped capitals, elegant and graceful. Corinthian, ornate capitals with acanthus leaves, sophisticated detailing. Greece's true architectural legacy is optical correction, compensating visual illusions. The Greeks discovered how eyes deceive. The Parthenon's seemingly parallel columns actually flare outward at the base. This trapezoidal arrangement counters the illusion of top heaviness. Side columns are thicker, compensating against sky backgrounds, like how people appear slimmer outdoors versus framed in doorways. Edge columns against sky appear thinner, requiring optical compensation. Central columns would look disproportionately thick without adjustment. Columns also taper upward in 3 stages, creating subtle swelling to prevent middle section thinning illusion. Like avoiding backlit photography's flattening effect, architects added visual weight through precise calculations. Remember our opening question: why did Greek temple columns have those fluted grooves? It's about visual refinement. The swelling columns could appear overly heavy without these vertical lines. The grooves create vertical emphasis, making columns appear more slender and balanced. Thus, Mediterranean sunlight reflects harshly off smooth marble surfaces. Fluting diffuses reflections for comfortable viewing. This optical correction revolutionized architectural philosophy. Recall Egyptian pyramid purposes, eternal soul preservation through physical stability, pure functionality sufficed. Straight columns would structurally work for Greek temples too, but Greeks prioritized aesthetic harmony, profoundly influencing Western architecture. Close your eyes and imagine the zero Mediterranean skies framing white marble temples with golden Athena statues surrounded by symmetrical colonnades swaying in sea breezes. What visual splendor! As Pericles declared, what we conceive, we achieve. His aesthetic ideals materialized in stone. Now to our third architectural theme, church architecture in Western history. Church construction dominates Western architectural narratives. Since Constantine's 313 AD Edict of Milan, Christianity reshaped Western architecture. Christian churches, while both sacred spaces, churches differ fundamentally from Greek temples. Temples housed gods as artworks, churches accommodated living congregations. Churches served practical needs, worship spaces doubling as community centers. Surprisingly, early churches began as underground catacombs. Before the 4th century, Christians faced persecution under Roman rule, forbidden from building above-ground churches. They endured horrific punishments like being burned as human torches, forced to worship secretly underground, preserving martyrs' remains in catacomb niches. Constantine's Edict of Milan in 313 AD finally allowed proper churches above ground. Greek temples prioritized artistry over functionality, but Christian churches served different purposes. They became earthly heavens for congregation gatherings. Rejecting temple designs, they adopted Roman basilica layouts. Basilica derives from Greek meaning royal hall, originally used for courts and markets. The design featured rectangular halls with entryways and altars at opposite ends. This basic structure persisted through centuries of architectural evolution. Christianity's golden age birthed Gothic architecture. Gothic originally described barbaric styles with exotic charm, Perfenzikai. Gothic churches reached skyward. Unlike modern skyscrapers rooted to earth, their spires embodied spiritual ascent versus urban towers' material accumulation. Gothic structures resembled spring blossoms straining toward heaven. How did they achieve this ethereal verticality? Architects replaced thick columns with clustered slender pillars. These ribbed columns created upward visual momentum toward vaulted ceilings. These clustered columns resembling flower bouquets are called tree pillars, topped with spires stretching skyward. Pointed arch windows replace walls between pillars, creating vertical continuity. Imagine standing beneath converging vaults, like a stone forest canopy reaching infinity above. Stained glass transforms sunlight into divine radiance. Oh, what celestial splendor! From humble catacombs to Gothic marvels, religious architecture reached its zenith. Gothic complexity remains an architectural wonder. Witness Rheims Cathedral, Notre Dame, Westminster Abbey, and Cologne's 600-year masterpiece. Medieval construction research guilds pioneered daring vertical engineering techniques. Their perilous experiments materialized spiritual aspirations in stone. By the 17th century, earthly palaces replaced heavenly churches as monarchs prioritized luxury. Thus emerged our fourth theme, palatial architecture. Palaces mark the divide between ancient and modern architecture. Feng Zikai identified key distinctions. 1. Ancient structures served deities. Modern ones serve humans. Pyramids for souls, temples for gods. Churches bridged heaven and earth, but palaces prioritized earthly comfort. Post-palace architecture focused on human happiness in this life. Secondly, ancient architecture served public functions. Greek temples for assemblies, medieval churches for worship. Post-palace era architecture catered to specific elites like royalty. Thirdly, this shift resulted from the previous two factors. Divine or public-focused structures emphasized exterior aesthetics. Human-centric palaces prioritized interior opulence. Why this architectural paradigm shift? Again, architecture materializes zeitgeist. Post-Renaissance Reformation weakened church authority. Ecclesiastical power declined as nation-states rose. 17th century became the age of absolutism. France led palatial architecture under Louis XIV, the Sun King. His Versailles palace epitomized regal extravagance. How extravagant! He founded the Royal Academy of Painting and Sculpture. The Louvre and Versailles became architectural benchmarks. Versailles' facade used tripartite composition, central horizontal block flanked by symmetrical wings forming U-shape. Abandoning Gothic verticality for balanced neoclassicism, post-religious fervor revived Greco-Roman symmetry. Even Versailles' gardens followed geometric precision, but diverged from Greek minimalism through ornate detailing. Greek columns avoided excessive decoration beyond functional fluting, but palatial architecture's ornate decorations often overwhelmed structural elements. Interior design became the true stage for lavish expression. Louis XIV's Baroque style embraced dynamic curves and theatricality. Swirling patterns adorned everything: columns, ceilings, even furniture arms. Vaulted ceilings with vivid frescoes, gilded furnishings, and crystal chandeliers. Versailles alone boasted 500 such rooms. By Louis XV's reign, Rococo pushed opulence further. Though often confused with Baroque, Rococo favored delicate floral motifs over bold curves. This architectural decadence mirrored Europe's aristocratic excesses. Capitalism's rise triggered architecture's next transformation. Our final theme: commercial architecture. Thang noted ancient people sought cultural capitals. Moderns chase Shanghai's wealth. Post-18th century capitalism birthed skyscrapers from Berlin's iron-framed department stores. This structural revolution birthed Paris's Eiffel Tower, prototype for vertical cities. Commercial architecture prioritized advertising through height and novelty. Skyscraper races defined 20th century urban landscapes. Architecture became billboard, either shockingly tall or bizarrely shaped. This architectural style thrives most in New York. Feng Zikai described New York's skyline as a decapitated forest. He once compared Gothic cathedrals to ornate forests. Skyscrapers, though taller, stand bare like stripped trees. Though familiar now, these structures shocked observers in 1920s to 30s. Capitalists built higher to flaunt wealth and advertise, Fang observed. You build 60 floors, I'll build 70. Height became synonymous with financial credibility. Yet, skyscrapers often prove economically inefficient. Modern architecture also pursues novelty for advertising. Eric Mendelssohn's Chemnitz store resembles an ocean liner. Steel frames minimized columns, enabling continuous glass facades. Horizontal windows amplified nighttime advertising illumination. Third characteristic: clean, functional minimalism. The store features parallel curves in stark monochrome. Le Corbusier's Machines for Living epitomizes modern design. From tombs to skyscrapers, our journey concludes. Thang's book predicts future architectural directions. Future buildings should serve masses, not novelty. Skyscrapers may become relics like pyramids. Recent sustainable architecture trends confirm his vision. Good architectural design now prioritizes environmental friendliness and smart services over mere novelty and advertising. Well, that concludes our exploration of understanding architecture. Reading notes are below the audio. Stay tuned for our next literary journey.